All right. Good afternoon. This is Coyote Swap recap video number 3. I made a list here, which I'll be going over in a second. I'll give you a better view of that in a minute here. But this is what I've spent so far, and this is actually not even including everything. I haven't priced out all the fuel stuff and all some little odds and ends. This is just to give you, if you wanted to Coyote swap your Fox body, a general idea of the must-have absolute needs for a Coyote swap. So I broke this down: motor, transmission, chassis, electronics, and miss. So motor, obviously need that. So I have a Gen 2 F-150 motor I got out of a local junkyard. Cost me $2,800. Luckily, I got the flywheel off of Recon Racing on Instagram. His name is John, awesome guy. He also races a Mustang. Got the flywheel for $45. Got the motor mounts from Maximum Motorsports. Those were $118. Header gaskets from Ford, $66. Heater bypass kit from Power by the Hour, that cost me $90. Alternator, $245. Starter, $88. Flywheel bolts, ARP. Obviously, you can't reutilize stock flywheel bolts because they're torque to yield. The ARP flywheel bolts was $56. Headers, I ended up going with BBK long tube swap headers, ceramic coated. Those cost me $630. Obviously, in this application, I don't want a truck intake manifold, so I ended up, luckily enough, I got a Gen 3 Mustang intake manifold, luckily for $100, through a good friend, John, over at Trax Auto. And then I bought the Ford OEM windage tray and oil pan gasket. I got that off of MMR. The truck motors didn't come with the windage tray, the Mustangs did. So obviously in the road racing abuse that I'm going to put this thing through, you want a windage tray. So the motor category came out to $4,291. Moving on to the transmission category. TR3650 is probably your most cost-effective transmission. With the transmission and the full rebuild, it cost me $1,000. Clutch, I went with the spec stage 1. That was $387. Throwout bearing from Ford was $59. Clutch fork and the shifter bushing that goes into the transmission was $100. Maximum Motorsports clutch cable kit was $131. I got the MGW shifter for $50. I then later had to buy a handle from them. That was $20. And the aluminum block that goes onto the shifter. I found out that I had a Gen 1 setup. I needed to buy the Gen 2 stuff to use that handle correctly. So the block was $35. Since I went from a T5 transmission to a TR3650, you're going to need a 31 spline slip yoke. I got that on either Late Model Resto or AmericanMuscle.com. It's a Ford Racing, Ford Performance slip yoke. That was $103. I didn't have any bell housing bolts. Probably most of you guys, if you're going from one transmission to the other, you probably have those laying around, I guess, so you might be able to save some money there if they do thread into the aluminum block. I'm not sure the thread pattern, but the bell housing bolt kit was $50. I didn't have any pressure plate bolts, so I got the pressure plate bolt kit for $22. I still need a polyurethane transmission mount. Haven't bought it yet. I gotta call up Stifler's. I'll get into that in a minute. So not including the poly mount, that was $1,957 for the transmission package, if you will. Moving on to the chassis, I went with a Maximum Motorsports K-Member. That was $509. Again, going on to the Stifler's Cross Member, I have one of their kits for a T5 and a pushrod motor. I'm not sure if I can reutilize that yet. I want to give them a call, so I might have to buy another Stifler's Cross Member. I haven't added that cost in. So the chassis for me was just $509. I just needed the K-Member. Moving on to electronics, you have the Gen 2 control pack for manual transmissions, which was $1,800. I got that from Power by the Hour Performance. And then since I have an F-150 motor, I needed to buy power by the hours engine harness to work with the Ford performance calibrated ECU and control pack. So that was another $360. So for the electronics, I'm at $2,160. Moving on to miscellaneous. You need a throttle pedal bracket. PBH also sells that. That's like 90 bucks. It's a billet aluminum bracket that goes onto your Fox body where the OEM gas pedal goes, and that allows you to run the Coyote throttle pedal because it's fly-by-wire. It's a little bit different, bolt to the chassis in a different way, so you need that billet aluminum. Yes, I probably could have saved a little bit of money making my own. I just didn't really want to spend the time on it. I kind of want to just bolt it down and connect it onto the next thing. So that was 90 bucks. When you go from a pushrod 302 to a Coyote motor, you are going to have to either convert to manual brakes or hydro brakes. The reason is because the vacuum booster on the Fox body is too big. The Coyote motor will hit it. I've wanted to go to the manual brake kit since I'm doing the road racing time attack stuff. You get a more consistent feel, so that was an easy choice. I was planning on going manual brake kit anyways. So the MM manual brake kit cost me 150 bucks. Another thing that I didn't factor in order to fire up this F-150 motor, I need tuning software. So I'm going to go with HP tuners. Luckily, I have a couple friends that have HP tuners, so hopefully that'll save me a couple $100 on, buying their software. Eventually, maybe I will, so I can do, data logging and real-time tuning. I don't plan on doing that right now. However, I am going to have to purchase 1 credit, 2 credits, 4 credits. I'm not exactly sure how many credits I'll have to purchase from HP tuners, so that could be like $100, $200. Not exactly sure. But the reason I have to do this tuning is because the F-150 has a different firing order. So I'm going to have to change the firing order on the tune, and I'm going to have to change injector timing on the tune. And then that's going to enable me to fire up the car. So we are at a total right now. My goal was sub 10,000. I'm probably right there, maybe even more right now. Obviously, with the race car, I had to buy other little trinkets and fittings and whatnot that an average street car won't have to buy. So there is going to be some varies. Sometimes I'm not running an AC compressor. So obviously, somebody with a street car, you might have to spend more money on brackets and AC lines and an AC compressor, where that money I put toward race car stuff. So my goal was sub 10 grand. Right now I'm at $9,157. Granted, a Gen 3 Mustang intake manifold is like $600. I got mine for $100. So, I saved $500 there. So there's a lot of give and take. Originally, I was trying to use Gen 1 Mustang Coyote stock headers. Got those for free. I realized it's going to take me a lot of time to weld and fit and make the downpipes after the headers. So I figured, what? I'm just going to go with BBK long tube headers. That was, again, $630. I wasn't trying to spend, but the swap headers, are designed for that reason, to swap over. So you bolt them up. You might have to, a little bit of mods, but it's going to work with the steering column and the steering shaft. It's going to work with, your clutch cable. It's going to work with the K-member. It's all designed to fit for that. So I think that $630, I didn't want to spend that, but that's like time over money. That's going to be a bolt in, drop the motor in, get it bolted up and go, compared to me test fitting headers, welding, pulling the motor out, tack welding, this and that, back and forth. It just takes a lot of time. I don't want to deal with it. So again, right now I'm at $9,157 for all the things that I covered. I know personally I'm over that. Like I said, I'm probably closer to 10 grand, maybe even a little more. But my goal was to do a Coyote swap for 10 grand. So I think I'm kind of still on par. I know a lot of people online are saying, 15 grand, 20 grand. Again, that might be for street cars, show cars with cruise control, air conditioning, all these other things that I don't need. So I understand, there is give and take. And also, most people, some people wouldn't want to do a Coyote swap by themselves. They're going to pay someone else to do it. So that's probably another factor that, you're going to spend 5 or 6 grand to pay a mechanic to do it, where I'm doing the work myself. But that's where I'm at right now. I wanted to do a quick recap video, give you guys an idea of exactly what I'm going over, and just stay tuned for the next one.